Our campaign is by the nonprofit the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and it's about building capacities for climate resilient tilapia farming in the Philippines. Since our campaign comes from a nonprofit organization, much of the project's focus is not on the campaign's effect on the organization or on its media attention, but rather on the effects the campaign had in helping the Philippines and the effects the campaign had in achieving the FAO's sustainability goals. The FAO is a specialized agency of the United Nations, and its main function is to lead international efforts for causes like eliminating hunger and food insecurity, reducing rural poverty, increasing resilience of livelihoods to threats, and so on. It is an intergovernmental organization headquartered in Rome and consists of over 194 member states working in over 130 countries worldwide.
Their mission is to support countries facing increasing demands and challenges in agricultural development. Their vision is to achieve food security for all and make sure that people have regular access to enough high-quality food to lead active, healthy lives. Their values are to sustainably strive toward a world without hunger, malnutrition, and poverty, while contributing to the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals. The FAO is trying to tackle severe levels of global food insecurity. This is related to the Philippines because tilapia production, which is their most consumed protein, has declined by 35% in the last 8 years due to climate-induced challenges. This gives them the opportunity to implement the Sustainable Development Goals to provide targeted support as a resource to countries. The Philippines have a democratic government in the form of a constitutional republic, known as the Republic of the Philippines, which is governed as a unitary state. The Philippines have a low corruption perception index, meaning their institutions and systems are highly corrupt, putting democratic foundations at risk. The Philippines economy consists of privately owned businesses regulated by the government policy. Their economy is shifting from agricultural base to a more industrialized economy. Despite having a high literacy rate, the Philippines government somewhat controls how media is covered. Even though their freedom of press index indicates that media freedom is partly free, the Philippines is one of the most dangerous countries in the world for journalists. The highest level of media penetration in the Philippines was television at 71.6%, followed by the internet at 65%. Print media was the lowest level of penetration behind radio, television, and the internet. In 2017, the Philippines had 63.6 million internet users, ranking 12th worldwide for the most internet users. And of those users, 33% of them used mobile devices. According to the power distance sector of Hofstede's Cultural Dimensions, the Philippines has a hierarchical society, which means inequalities among people are acceptable. The Philippines' low individualism score makes them a collectivistic society, meaning they act in the interests of groups. The Philippines have a high masculinity score, making them a masculine society. These societies are driven by competition, achievement, and success. Their low score in uncertainty avoidance shows they have a relaxed attitude and aren't concerned with serious or unclear issues. The Philippines' low score in long-term orientation makes them more normative than pragmatic. This means they have great respect for traditions and use them to achieve results. Their indulgence score is low, making them a restrained society that follows social norms and avoids indulging in leisure time and desires. According to the SWOT analysis, the FAO's strengths are their strong international ties, their access to resources and technology, and their support from the United Nations. Weaknesses of the FAO are their poor organizational function, which prevented them from concentrating on key factors and generating high-quality results. Additionally, they are seen as too centralized from remote countries in need. The threats in the Philippines are extreme weather events and climate-related disasters such as typhoons, flooding, and dry periods that negatively affect aquaculture. The opportunity for the FAO is to utilize technology to reduce climate-related threats that decrease tilapia production in the Philippines.
The primary audience of this campaign is tilapia farmers in the Philippines. The secondary audiences would be low-income residents in the Philippines who rely on tilapia as their main source of protein, as well as tilapia consumers in general in the Philippines, tilapia consumers around the world, and global populations on media platforms. As we mentioned before, media attention is not the biggest concern for this campaign. However, audiences abroad are still important to the FAO for creating awareness and recognition for sustainability and its other goals. The demographics and psychographics mentioned in the next slide of the Philippines are important for this campaign because they make up some of the background of the country's tilapia production decline, besides the obvious severe climate. Only about 1.5 million out of 26.5 million people working in the agricultural sector of the Philippines work in fisheries. And as you can see below, the percentage of people working in agriculture in general is decreasing. Also, the average age of fish farmers ranges from 43 to 52 years old, which, as you can see at the top, is also a smaller segment of the population. Other important demographics include the average level of education, which ranges from 4 to 12 years, and farmers and fishermen and foresters are among the poorest citizens of the Philippines. Based on the last slide, you could see that a much larger segment of the population were youths. But based on our psychographic analysis, the Filipino youth are discouraged to be farmers because of the poverty they see in the older generations. This is also one of the problems leading to a decline in the tilapia production. Other psychographics of the tilapia farmers include that they live to survive, meaning they produce food for themselves and try to sell off the rest for profit. And with severe weather that ruins their chances to make profit, this leads to their further impoverished state. This also ties into their psychographic of prioritizing survival needs like hunger over paying off loans and debts, which also increases poverty. And while farmers have access to technology like cell phones, they're not technologically savvy, often due to their lower levels of education. Finally, they care about one another's well-being and often work in groups. The overall theme of the campaign is to promote the FAO's Sustainable Development Goals, to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources of the Philippines, which in this case pertains to the ponds where the tilapia is raised. This leads to the key ideas of the campaign, which are that the FAO wants to help the Philippines sustainably increase tilapia production and to help make tilapia farms resistant to climate-related disasters, which would be the typhoons and severe weather that often frequent the country. The goals of this campaign are to ensure that tilapia remains available, accessible, and affordable for growing populations in the Philippines. And the overall goal would be to promote overall good governance, participatory decision-making processes, and best practices in fishery. The informational objective of the campaign was basically to increase farmers' knowledge and access to information about ways to use technology to mitigate the harmful effects of severe climate and weather on product yields. The attitudinal objective of the campaign was to change Filipinos' perceptions of how tilapia farming can still be profitable despite severe climate crises in the Philippines. And the behavioral objective of the campaign was to strengthen tilapia farmers' adaptation to negative effects of external events like extreme weather to ensure tilapia farming remains profitable. As for their strategies, the FAO knew they wanted to work with the Department of Agriculture in the Philippines and the local government to research ways to increase aquaculture productivity. Furthermore, they wanted to use innovative technology to provide tilapia farmers with a way of knowing that climate-related threats were coming. They also were going to work directly with the tilapia farmers at their ponds to see exactly what their situations were like. And finally, after research and complicated technology was in the equation, they knew they wanted to have some way to simplify the complicated weather and technology concepts to teach farmers how to better raise tilapia. The first tactic the FAO used was they were going to need to evaluate the pond's productive capacity. They needed to see what they were going to be working with and how the ponds can be productive, and how they would be able to adapt to them. Then they also installed a series of automatic weather stations, which could measure weather parameters in real time. These stations can provide early warning advisories for thunderstorms, heavy rains, and extreme temperatures, which are relevant to aquaculture operations. They also launched a web-based platform that would use the data and the weather stations to send tilapia farmers SMS text messages of real-time weather alerts. And in the middle of all this, the FAO would have to use training programs and workshops to teach farmers what they actually could do when they got alerts about severe climate. So the project actually did everything it wanted to accomplish. With the help of the Department of Agriculture and the local government, the FAO was able to see how the pond systems actually work, and using the data from the automatic weather stations, they were able to accurately predict weather outcomes. So after they knew how the farm work was done and how to predict the weather, they were able to figure out ways for farmers to avoid destruction from harmful climate and to make optimal use of their inputs, like postponing feeding times and ensuring the safety of farmers and equipment when thunderstorms or cyclones approached. The overall impact was that the technology they used improved the productivity and profitability of tilapia farmers, and exceeding expectations since they had so much success adapting their technology and research to a climate as harsh as the Philippines. They now plan on expanding their efforts to other areas of aquaculture.
Now we're going to talk about implementation and use of messages in communication. While there was communication methods in this campaign, the main goal was not to spread the message through social media. All information on the campaign is on the FAO website. The FAO Knowledge's official Twitter account was used to provide updates on the campaign. The Twitter account included hashtags like #ZeroHunger to link updates. The SMS Alert web-based platform is used to send SMS alerts to tilapia farmers to measure real-time weather patterns. YouTube was used to make a campaign overview video, which was shared to spread awareness and attention to people in all countries on the FAO YouTube account. The FAO webpage of the campaign included 4 main parts. 1. Key facts. 2. Increasing climate resilience in agriculture. 3. Training and knowledge sharing. And 4. Moving forward. The campaign has a social media presence on Twitter through the FAO Knowledge Twitter account. Hashtags like #fish, #Philippines, and #ZeroHunger allowed engagement with a global audience. Here's a video example of the implementation from this campaign. Much Filipino media ownership is concentrated in the hands of prominent families and businesses. Despite having a partly free freedom of press, some reports from the Philippines tend to be one-sided presentations favoring special interest. Utilizing global social media platforms like Twitter allowed the FAO to spread awareness of the problem and opportunity of the campaign to users in the Philippines and throughout the world. The Philippines is one of the poorest countries in Asia. The Philippines has failed to achieve a sustained period of rapid economic growth, which is partly due to climate-related disasters negatively impacting economic productivity in the agriculture sector. Focusing on increasing tilapia productivity allowed Filipinos to secure stable jobs and move towards no poverty. Internet penetration and smartphone usage is high in the Philippines. Having availability to the internet allowed global populations to access campaign content online. For example, the webpage, Twitter, and YouTube campaign video. Having availability to smartphones and mobile devices allowed tilapia farmers to access SMS alerts to measure real-time weather patterns. In Philippine society, inequalities among people are acceptable. Through improving tilapia production, the campaign helps farmers advance their economic status and defeat poverty. The Circuit of Culture shows representation in creating and implementing sustainable and climate resilient agriculture. Consumption is the campaign's main theme to strengthen the climate resilience of the agriculture industry.
Regulation is how the government agencies and agriculture producers are accelerating their adoption of the evidence-based climate-resilient approaches introduced by the project. Identity is impoverished Filipino tilapia farmers. Production is informing on the importance of weather patterns and how it affects fish farmers and the Filipino population.
In our informational objective, we said the campaign wanted to increase farmers' knowledge about how technology can help them produce tilapia successfully despite harmful climate. They were successfully able to do so by using the innovative technology such as the automatic weather stations combined with a web-based portal and the SMS text messages. And through their training workshops, the FAO was able to develop 9 knowledge products to guide practitioners and fish farmers on how to manage the impact of weather systems, along with the technology. The FAO is also successfully able to change the farmers' perceptions on how tilapia farm can still be profitable despite the severe climate crises in the Philippines by implementing the climate-resistant technology that helped increase tilapia production by 2.98%, which stabilized job security in efforts to reduce poverty. And there's a quote about how tilapia farmers are now winning the race against climate change and contributing to poverty alleviation, thanks to the FAO. And then finally, the use of the early warning messages to provide guidance to the tilapia farmers and to help them use optimal use of their inputs and give advice on weather events. They were able to successfully help tilapia farmers increase profitability and adapt to some of the negative effects of climates. And also, like we said, the tilapia production grew by 2.98%. In conclusion, the main impact of the project was improving the productivity and profitability of tilapia farmers by using a combination of meteorology, technology, and information sharing. This proved the capabilities of the organization that they could combine these scientific studies in a way that benefits sustainability, which is one of their overarching goals. The key takeaways are that from the national to the farm level, government agencies and aquaculture producers are accelerating their adoption of evidence-based, climate-resilient approaches introduced by the project. If we were a part of the project, we would have probably created more hype for the project on social media because even though it was not one of the most important factors to them, it couldn't have hurt the campaign to get more attention from abroad. We also would have provided updates on the project, how it is doing today, and possibly show some more videos and pictures of the farmers during the process. Also, the project could have provided more details about the project in general, like a timetable, a budget, some progress of the research and technology and creation. But overall, the project was a great success regardless, and it achieved more than just something for the FAO, but it achieved something for the Philippines and hopefully moving forward others as well.